afternoon. I am Patrick Carr. I just happen to be blessed to serve this year as Most Excellent Grand High Priest of the Grand Chapter of Royal Arch Masons of Kansas. I've been a Royal Arch Mason since 2007 when I first stepped into the Holy Royal Arch. I don't know, about a week and a half after I was raised, maybe 2 weeks. I know it wasn't a full month. And I watched our presentation and watched all 4 degrees and went, oh, I get it. And then a few weeks later, we did council, and then like a year later, we did commandery. Commandery is always hard to get completed. It's the same way in Kansas. I can do Royal Arch all day. I can do Royal Arch and council. Commandery comes up, and people start hiding. I don't know if it's that we got to wear uniforms or it's that, guys, if you're going to confer the Order of the Temple, it's a lot of work. We have one person in Kansas who confers the Order of the Temple. Our last one passed away. That would be most everything except most worshipful C. David Williams, if anybody here remembers C. David. Good personal friend and mentor of mine, even though I didn't live in Kansas at the time. We spent a lot of time together on the phone, helped him run for General Grand Chapter. That was not successful. We tried, though. He conferred it. Now I confer it. It wasn't in the plan, but I confer it now. Working Tools. This is a book I produced a little over a year ago. Your Guide to a Fulfilling Masonic Lodge Experience. Why did I write this? A lot of reasons that probably aren't up here, but let's start with this one. Assistance for lodge leaders. Yes, I said leaders. Gentlemen, if you are going through a line, most of you in this room have been through the lines. You're going to hear some old hat stuff. This isn't always for you. There will be some things for you here. But if you're going to be a lodge leader, you need to know what to do. It's more than just showing up and having a meeting, right? If you just show up as a master and you hope your secretary did his job, he's not the master. He may think he is. I'm a secretary of several bodies, and yes, I do run that meeting because my master won't run it, But we're working on that. That's what we do. The biggest reason is, how do we enhance the Masonic experience? Everything I've heard this morning had one key central theme: the Masonic experience. We did not plan this in advance. This is just a happy coincidence. But everything I've heard today from each of your speakers is, to quit the jab, to do things that are important, to make people want to return to your lodges, to your chapters, your councils, commanderies. We've got to change how we do business, gentlemen, if we're going to do this. We talk a little bit about event planning because there's always one guy in every lodge that plans every event, right? Hint, he's going to get sick and not show up one day. Oh, heavens, what do we do now? We have to figure this out. Masonic education, that is one of my keys to having any successful Masonic Lodge experience. If you have a meeting to pay the bills, gentlemen, you didn't have a meeting. You paid the bills. Sorry. If you're not teaching them something, you missed it. I had a past Grand Master who used to tell me, he says, did you have fun? Did you learn something? Did you teach something? If you didn't do those 3, guess what? You probably really didn't have a good Masonic meeting and you went home feeling unfulfilled. And the last one is, how do we get to that Masonic meeting? How do we plan that meeting to make sure things go well? Oh, my early Masonic experience, raised February 27th, 2007 in Key Lodge number 7, Siloam Springs, Arkansas. And I learned a few things really quickly. Really poorly planned meetings. Whatever happened, happened. The secretary attempted to run it. He was like 89. Not that he couldn't run it at 89, but he couldn't run it at 89. Sorry. We wandered through meetings. Everybody had things to say, and nothing was accomplished. We did good degree work, I will say that. We did fantastic degree work because my lodge had several grand lectures in it, which meant when I first came in as an entered apprentice, I was taught to confer the entered apprentice degree before I learned my lecture. Same thing with my fellow crafts, same thing with my master's degree. I was kind of a little dog and pony guy. I was 40 plus, but I was the dog and pony guy that they carried around to every entered apprentice degree to give all the lectures. And my specialty was, you didn't tell me we were doing this. No, I didn't. You're going to catch, I'm going to pitch. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. My favorite was when he says, you're conferring tonight. I said, no, I'm not. Yeah, here's a hat. Get up there. Thank you. What an honor. No Masonic education. Yeah, we did not have Masonic education. And when I brought it up, I was the Antichrist. Literally, I was a bad guy. When I said, guys, can't we have some education to learn what some of this stuff means? We got all this beautiful ritual, and I was told, yeah, well, one day maybe you'll be master, you can do it. Surprise. We did the minutes, we did the bills, we did the communications from Grand Lodge. We attempted to have good of the order, which means somebody's wife was sick, somebody was in the hospital, somebody passed, or my favorite, there's going to be a degree in another county or another city. And bye-bye, we're out of here. I had a pastor friend who used to tell me he hated this, the 3 S's. And I first looked at him like, now I know the 3 S's, I know of my military buddies, but he's like, no. Sit, soak, and scram. You come to his church service, you sit, you soak in his 18.5-minute sermon, and you scram. You didn't learn much, you didn't talk about it, you had no engagement. He said he detested sit, soak, and scram. Boring meetings, that's on each of us, gentlemen. If you have a boring meeting, that's my fault, it's your fault, it's your fault. Everybody, we have to take control of the Masonic experience. Lack of communication is always a problem. I don't care how much you communicate. Missouri, Grand York, Rite, you guys communicate phenomenally well. And I guarantee you, you got 20% of your membership that says, well, the Grand York Rite just doesn't communicate to me. And you're going, really? How many emails, how many letters can I send you? How many times can I call you? So I said earlier, call them and ask how they're doing. Some of those brothers will still say they don't communicate. That's what we always say, because that's the catch-all. That's what we do. We like to use that as our catch-all, that why are we not successful? Why are we having issues and challenges? No one communicates to me. Sometimes they're right. Sometimes they're in error. And then we have these wonderful special events. This is the exception to that rule. This is a fantastic event and a great Masonic experience. I think everybody in this room agrees that what we've done the last day, literally not even 24 hours yet, has been fantastic. Something that a lot of jurisdictions should look at and model. But our special events were just kind of a waste of the time. So in 2011, I decided I was going to make a change, because these poor suckers elected me as worshipful master. And I did 2 things my first night. I put up a list of Masonic speakers that would be coming for 12 months to our lodge. And I told them in that list that we would be changing the Masonic experience at our meeting. I got a few harumps. And then I decided I was going to pick a power play. I do not recommend ever doing this, guys. I was a younger Master Mason, was probably full of my own crapulence, and decided I would pull this trick. I had all the past masters appear west of the altar for introduction. I seated them at my right hand after that and filled their chairs. Yeah, that's a power play. Now, why did I do that? I don't want the old guys telling me and my young, literally, I had some 25 and 28-year-olds at that point, trying to take that tarnish off what they wanted to accomplish, what we as a team, all the way down through our Masters of Ceremonies, what we wanted to accomplish. Yeah, that was a power play, and that was, I wouldn't do that again. I'm a little older, a little wiser. But as they said over here to my right, I would ask them questions. So what do you think? Because nobody wanted to be the bad guy, right? Yeah, I would not recommend doing that. That's my own little mea culpa. I don't speak about that often, but yeah, don't do that. It didn't need to be done. I could have still done it. Why? Why could I have still done what I wanted? I had the hat. You have the big hat. It's my duty to lead that lodge with the consent of the brethren. I sent out a communication to all members that were in our community who attended our lodge, thanking them for attending and giving them a list of what we were doing that year. I sent a communication to the members who were in our community who never showed up, telling them that this is your lodge. I'd love to have you come back and be part of the experience we're having. And I sent out a third. My third was to all our out-of-state, out-of-town members in nursing homes who we were never going to be able to see. Guess who responded the greatest to my 3 letters? The last ones. I had one guy call me. Guy's blind. Guy calls me. He says, my nurse read me your letter. You're the first person that's contacted me in my lodge in 12 years. I want to send you something. He sent me like $300 to the lodge. Wow. Put it right into a project we were working on. Communication. We just reached out and I told these guys that I care about you as our members. We had structured meals. I don't want any bologna and cheese sandwiches. If you're going to do it, plan it in advance. Don't just show up and go, Jim, did you bring the meal? No. Go get something. Go grab pizza. Not acceptable. That year we had 12 stated meetings. We had another 19 special communications for degree work, and we had another 5 special communications for other events. We had planned meals every night. No surprise meals, no bad meals. We even asked you if there was something you were allergic to. I had a guy that didn't eat red sauce. So we made Alfredo lasagna for him that night. He had his own. Yeah, big win for our lodge with our membership. Very happy. We planned the meetings. I sent out a consent agenda long before we were talking about consent agendas. 2011. It's 15 years ago, almost. I sent out a consent agenda. When they approved it, guess what? We're rocking and rolling. I don't have to spend 30 minutes reading the minutes that we all read over and over, and not well. We scheduled Masonic education. Every one of those 12 meetings had a different speaker. Then we had the concerns of the brethren. What's going on? Wives are sick. Parents are sick. Dog died. Believe it or not, these are serious life events for people. And at that point, I would bring everyone around the altar. Might think I have some like York Rite going on here. And we formed, bless you, we formed a chain of union, and we had our chaplain actually pray right there. Because I got tired of hearing, but tell you, I'm going to pray for you.
Somebody needs to.
God only knows. But we say this all the time, and I'm not doubting that anybody went home and prayed. But I believe there's power in corporate prayer right there at that moment when we're all standing there. So we had our prayer right around the altar. A couple years ago, I was master again. I had a Jewish brother who was my chaplain. I told him I needed one thing from him. I wanted him to give me a nice Jewish prayer around the altar for the concerns of the people. He goes, man, I ain't been to Hebrew school in 40 years. I said, that's a you problem. November rolls around. He gives us this beautiful Hebrew prayer. And I said, what does that mean? He goes, you need to go to Hebrew school and figure it out. That's a you problem. And sit down. Brother Slabowski was just appointed as Grand Senior Deacon this year. He will be Grand Master in 5 years. Oh boy, am I going to be a me problem for him. You have no idea. And then we had time for reflection, which means we had a different Masonic composer, a different piece. A lot of Mozart guys. And we cut the lights down low, and we had about 3 minutes of just silence and just that music. That was controversial. I actually had a Grand Master call me and say, well, what are you doing in lodge? I said, I'm playing music. Well, when are you doing it? I said, right before we close. Aren't we out of ritual at that point, gentlemen? He goes, oh, that's a good idea. Who'd you steal that from? Andrew Hammer. If you're going to steal from the guys that do it better than you, right? And then we went into our ritual closing and finished off. I wanted it differently. How did we plan these meetings? Worship Master, Senior Warden, Junior Warden, Secretary. Guess what? We are planning the meeting together. Everybody on that list is a principal officer except the secretary who thinks he's a principal officer. But he has a lot of valuable insight and information, so we've got to make sure we have that. Because we got to remember what? Everybody's time is important. For us older guys in a room over 50, we're just happy to be out hanging out with people. For these guys that are 40 and under, if you don't give them a reason to be here, their time's important, they won't show back up. We talked about that earlier in council, did we not? About giving guys a reason to be here. Their time's valuable. They will spend just as much time at home that night with their family and kids as you as the 60-year-old guy wants, or 50-year-old guy wants to get out of the house. We communicate with each other between our meeting before the meeting. Our meeting before the meeting was usually about a week out. We had a week before the next stated communication. We wanted to get on the same page. What was important? What did the junior warden need for meals? What did the senior warden think was important coming up? Were we training him well? All these things were covered. We used our consent agenda. You do not have to use a consent agenda. I recommend it because once they approve it, guess what? It's all over. You want to pay the bills, it's on a consent agenda. You paid the bills. You don't have to spend 30 minutes arguing over that $1.50 on the electric bill that you have to pay anyway. Try not paying that $1.50. They will cut your electric off for $1.50 in this country. They don't care. It's just how it works. We have our concerns of the brethren, our real concerns, and always, always, always have education. That is what these men are supposed to do for every meeting. Sir, absolutely.
I don't understand the consent agenda. Is that what the top four plan on before the meeting, or what does that mean?
Yes, they're getting the consent agenda ready so that the secretary sends it out to all the members, not just the members who are going to show up. And it covers everything. It covers your last minute's meetings. Your treasurer's report up to that minute should be in there, or that day. Then it covers your bills, anything that needs to be approved, other than Grand Lodge communications. Why? Because you got to read your communications. I'll list them in the consent agenda, but those you have to go back to. And then we'll have the worship master will stand up, or he'll in Kansas he sits down because he's the laziest guy in the world. The master very seldom stands in Kansas. It's really kind of weird. And he says, brethren, the consent agenda was sent out on this date. Did everyone receive it? Is there any additions to the consent agenda? Any deletions? Any comments? None? Boom. Consent agenda is completed as presented. We just paid the bills. You just acknowledged that the treasurer's report's right. You just did all of your business. Because, guys, we don't come to Lodge. Yeah, you did it in like 30 seconds. We don't come to Lodge to pay bills. I cannot say, let me say it louder for guys in the back. We do not come to Lodge to pay bills. We don't. We come for fellowship. We come for education. That's why we come. At least that's why I was taught to come. It may be different in Missouri, but I've been in a lot of y'all's lodges. It's no different. You're not coming to pay the bills. You have to do that. You're coming to take care of everything else. So, worship master and the secretary also have some work to do on top of what they're doing with everybody else. Worship master works on his communications. Remember we said communication is the key, right? Because we're told that we don't communicate well. You communicate with your committees. What do you communicate with your committees? Everything. How many times have we had a committee report out and say, hey, brother, could you give your committee report? Worship master, we didn't do anything. Thank you very much. And they sit down. You go, okay, that's cool. How many of your committees don't ever report because they don't do anything? How many of you know that you have standing committees that you're supposed to do by Grand Lodge law every year? Okay, that's good. I saw a few hands and some nods. Yeah. Why do they not report? So 2 weeks prior to your event, whatever you're doing, special event, whether you're having a lodge meeting, you want to make sure that you're communicating that information to your officers, to anybody that's going to need to deal with that meeting. If you've got a special event speaker, make sure that special event speaker knows he's going to be there to speak. 1 week prior, please follow up. Everybody in this room is a member of more than one body. I know because you're York Rite Masons, that means you got at least 4. And most of you have like 9 or, Larry and Chris, I'm not even counting. I gave up on you guys long ago. I know you're a member of at least 15 bodies, maybe 20. But no, follow up. Everybody's busy, and sometimes these communications pass each other, and you do miss them in email. We've all had that happen. How do you communicate? Facebook, X, email, Messenger, whatever you need to use to get it out there. Get that information out to your people. They want to hear from you. Nothing worse than getting an email the morning of a meeting going, hey, you're showing up tonight, right? Crap. Yeah, I'll be there. Crap. It got away from me. It gets away from all of us because we're so busy. Meals. I love this. In most jurisdictions, a junior warden is what? He superintends the craft during the hours of labor of refreshment, correct? Meals are a great refreshment. Kansas, we don't do this as much. They still don't. We observe the time, but that's about it, I think. All the lodges I've been in, even mine in Kansas that I've been master of, I've encouraged our junior wardens to take some leadership, plan the meal. I put that on him. Doesn't mean he has to pay for it, but he's got to plan it. He's also going to work with his stewards and his deacons to make sure that meal is served that night. These are the guys that are helping us provide a better Masonic experience to our guests and our members. So we got to make some decisions. I mean, we know we're going to eat, right? You're going to have that one guy who never eats. That's okay. What are we going to have? Plan the meal. Make sure you sit down and you actually plan the meal. If you're going to do hamburgers and hot dogs, make sure you know you're doing them. Make sure you have enough for everybody. Is it a fancy meal? It's going to be casual? Is it going to be a buffet? This is kind of in the middle of all of it today. But it was well planned. Last night was well planned. We know the food's here. We know when it showed up. We know what we're having. We know how we're going to deliver it. In our lodges, if we're not catering, we got to have prep time. So who are your people that are going to do this? They're right here. These are the men who are going to get together and try to plan that meal and get it done. Special food needs. Welcome to 2025. One meeting at my lodge has 5 different needs. 5. I got my Jewish brother who doesn't eat pork, unless he feels he wants to. But he doesn't eat pork 9 times out of 10. I've got a guy that's allergic to strawberries. Well, we don't do any strawberry shortcake. I've got an alpha gal. Anybody know what alpha gal is? Lone Star tick. We're seeing more and more of that. I have 2 guys that can't eat anything other than basically chicken and fish. And I ain't serving fish. So we're going to do chicken. 3, you've always got your carnivore who's not going to eat any carbs, right? And you got your gluten-free guy. That's 5 different meals that these poor guys have to figure out. So you want to make sure you know going in, because what? We don't want to offend anybody. I don't want to say everybody's going to eat except Matt. Did you eat before you got here? Dang, man, sucks to be you, right? I mean, we want to take care of these people. Are you going to have a festive board? You're going to have some kind of harmony after the meeting that's more than just a quick, we're going to eat and we're going to get out of here, before the meeting or after. These are all questions that your junior warden needs to work with if he's going to give a better Masonic experience to those that are coming. Who's going to plan your Masonic Ed? Worshipful Master, usually. Your secretary. I like to give it to the senior warden as well, because what's going to happen next year? He's going to be master. And what you don't want him to do is get up there, sit in the chair, put the hat on, and go, I'm master. Hi. Oh, come on, we've all done it, right? You get the hat on, you sit in the chair, you get the collar on, you look out and go, oh, crud, I have to do something now? Because we're not teaching them to get ready in advance. So let's give him some responsibility. The main reason we meet is to learn and teach. Masonic education. Do you set up an education committee? I've been pushing Grand Lodge of Kansas to make an education officer one of the officers in the lodge, or to make an education committee mandatory. I'm right there, I just haven't got it in. So they thought the way they would appease me was to make me chairman of the Grand Lodge Education Committee. No, that just gives me a bigger pulpit to bully pit to go, I really think we should have this in our lodges. Because if we're doing that, we're giving them some resources. Masonic education does not always have to be super esoteric. How many esoteric guys I got in the room? I know I got a bunch of them. Yeah, here we go. Guys, sometimes a cigar is just a cigar, and that's just how we're going to leave it. Okay? It does not always have to be esoteric, but it does have to be pre-planned in advance. You've got to be ready. My favorite thing, and I've heard this my entire career, does anyone have light tonight? Oh, that means Worshipful Master didn't prepare to have education. And you'll have some young brother, it's always a young brother, bless his heart, he's really trying to help. I call it popcorn education. He pops up out of his seat, Harry S. Truman was a Mason, and sits down. Okay, President Truman was a Mason. Thank you, my brother. Is that Masonic education? No. Talk to me about what he learned as a Master Mason that influenced his ability to be Grand Master or to be President of the United States during a very tumultuous time in our history. That's Masonic education. This young man has the greatest heart in the world because he popped up. He's really trying to communicate it and move this discussion along, but it's not working. Guys, we got plenty of brothers that speak in every lodge, even your smallest lodge. There's a brother that knows something that's of value to this fraternity. It might be why the senior deacon moves in a certain way, why we circumambulate in a certain way. He may know something that you can build upon in that meeting. Is it a tiled meeting? Nothing like going to talk about why this rubbish in the temple and finding out that I have 200 apprentices and a fellow craft in the room. You think that kind of put a little hitch into my Masonic presentation? It did. I still cannot tell you what happened in that meeting because the whole time I'm over there on my phone making adjustments and, well, I can't talk about this. Well, I can kind of wink this, and trying to go through and figure out how I'm going to do that presentation with these 3 men in the room who are not eligible to hear that part of our Masonic story. If you don't have somebody in your lodge, ask. Call your Grand Lodge Education Committee. They will give you a list of people who can speak. If you guys see the list that I put together every year, you notice I bring people from all over the country. Guess what I pay them? They get really good master's wages. They get to bunk at my house, they get to drink in my bar, and I feed them. Not one of them has ever taken a penny from me. Even Keith Peterson comes from Western Colorado every blasted year to speak. He has never taken a dime. They won't. They just won't. I don't. I come to speak. Give me a hotel, feed me, I'm great. I come to speak. And advertise it. If people don't know, they're not going to show up. I can tell you when I was master, we averaged, when I took over as master, 11 to 12 people per meeting. When I left, we were averaging 31 to 33. Why? They weren't my members. They were you guys who were coming because I had Kevin coming to speak. And they're like, oh, we want to hear him. And they show up. That's how you do it. That's how you change it. Let's talk about special events. That's everybody's problem. I mean, everybody's opportunity. I mean, yeah, we'll all be involved. It takes all of us to plan a special event. It's not easy. Is it an honor event? Are you giving out a 50-year emblem to some brother who has done a lot of good work for 50 years? Is it a PR event? Are you trying to raise money for one of your York Rite charities? That's a good PR event. Is it a strict fundraising event? We're throwing a banquet, a purple banquet, and we want to raise money for CMMRF. All of those are different events. Are they public? Are they tiled? Are you communicating the time, the date, and the place? These all go into the beginning of building your actual event. Who do you want to show up? Is it everybody in the community? Is it Master Masons? Is it not Master Masons? Is it profane? Is it their wives? Advertise. Again, it's part of the communication piece. Facebook, email, send letters. Does anybody still send letters? I'm just curious. There's not many of us. It's gotten expensive to send letters. Even my grand secretary is trying to figure out how he can bill dues without sending letters anymore. We're almost there. Is it formal? Are we going black tie? Are we going white tie and tails? Are we going to go like today where it's more informal? Except for the leaders of the bodies, and now I feel like I should have wore all my stuff. Thank you. This is all part of planning a quality Masonic special event. Let's talk about taking care of your business. Anybody here do a SWOT analysis on their lodge? Thank you, my brother. Nobody else. What's SWOT mean? Anybody know? It's not special weapons and tactics and threats. Okay. Well, if we're going to do that SWOT analysis, we got to figure some things out. What's your lodge's strength? Great ritual. A good meal. Masonic ed. Every lodge has some strength. Even if it's just 20 brothers that come together, these 20 guys are close. Even if it's 5, that's a strength for that lodge. They may be the only 5 showing up, but that's a strength. They're together. What's their weakness? I asked Master of a Lodge, now, what's your weakness? Well, sometimes we're just too darn popular. I looked at it, I said, wow. My brother, page 15 of my book. No. You know, I kind of messed with him a little bit. He really did believe that this lodge has a big following because They're just so popular in their community. That's okay. I said, you have a weakness. He goes, what? I said, humility. He got to laugh. He goes, that's fair. That's fair. They're a very proud lodge. What are their opportunities? What's your opportunity to bring more people? To do what people in your community want, to come maybe petition your lodge, to attend your events. What are your threats? Masonic Lodge threats are easy. Anybody know what our main threat is? What's that? We go out of business. If we don't have members, we die. Grand High Priest, if you don't recruit members to the Grand Chapter, most illustrious Grand Master is not your friend all of a sudden, right? And if you don't continue getting members, at least in this jurisdiction, Grand Commanders are going to lose their mind. Right? Working together. Everybody has responsibility. Your threat is if he doesn't do his job, you can't do your job, and man, you guys are just on the outside looking in. Unless you're in Virginia and you don't have to have a council. Right? Not everybody has counsel. We know that, right? We have some ways around that. Get that SWOT analysis done. I would encourage every lodge. It doesn't have to be large. It doesn't have to be 50 pages. It can be 1 page per category. But knowing what your lodge is and knowing where you fall in your SWOT analysis will really help you to figure out where you need to go. What do you need to do? Who do you need to talk to? Who is your lodge? Are you the Great Education Lodge? Are you a leadership lodge? Are you a lodge that does wonderful public events, fundraising, community center stuff? Every lodge is different. You have to decide what your lodge is and what it's going to be. No one at your Grand Lodge, your Grand Chapter, your Council Commander can tell you what your commandery is going to look like. Are you doing a great Christmas event? Are you visiting another church at Easter? No, we can't tell you as leaders what your individual commandery, chapter, council are going to do. You discover who you are. Where do we want to be? How do we get there? Your SWOT analysis builds that very beginning for how you get there. And please don't call it a SWOT analysis and don't use the word strategic plan. Are we all sick of the word strategic plan? Yeah, we have one in Kansas this year that we finally got in. We've been working 5 years on for our Grand York Rite. It is not known as a strategic plan. Because when we call it that, everybody goes, oh my gosh, and the eyes start to close, and it's another Grand Lodge play, and it's, no, you really do need to have a strategic plan. Just not call it that. Ours is securing our future. The Masonic experience, the whole reason we're here. It is different to every member. I can go around this room. There's about 60 of us in here. Every one of us has a different idea for what the Masonic experience is, right? And that's okay. It's going to be in flux in each of your lodges. It may even be in flux every time. What contributes to having a good meeting? Simple. Food, fellowship, and education. What are we doing this weekend? My entire book focuses around this. This entire concept is what my entire book is about. Because I learned as a young Master Mason, we don't do this. Most jurisdictions, this would be like, why are you doing this? We've always went to every one of our regions every year and have this discussion with 3 and 5 people. Nobody sees an issue with that. I'm sorry. I may not be the youngest guy in the room. I'm also not the oldest guy, thank you. But I also know doing things the same way you've done them that doesn't succeed is a recipe for the big F. That's failure. You can't do them that way anymore. No more boring meetings. No more boring meetings. No more. I just cannot say that enough. Open, close, get out of there. That's boring. Your young men are not going to be your old men in 20 years. And I don't care if it's chapter, council, commandery, Scottish Rite, Knight Masons. I don't care. Give them a reason to stay. Give them a reason to be part of you. Man, you recruited them. Let's take care of them. When they're not showing up, call them. We all like to be asked places, right? Most of you are here today because you were asked to show up. Fair? Why do you show up? Because you were asked. You like to be asked to come places. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Big one, be willing to listen to your members. Prime example was right before I became Grand High Priest, right before we had our first ever orientation for York Rite officers. I had one of the young York Rite officers come up to me and he goes, "What's my job next year?" You're Grand Principal Sojourner. You do Grand Principal Sojourner things. Well, what is that? I scratched my head and I thought, you bring the blind, and I stopped right there because I wanted to go in and tell him you do the ritual. And I did. I said, you do what's prescribed in our ritual. Nothing. I sat down and looked. It's Kansas. We hadn't had a job description for anybody ever, other than what's in our bylaws for the top 3 officers, the secretary and the treasurer. So we got a committee together, and we wrote a handbook for all 3. The 3 new heads of the bodies, we got together and we added our distinct things to it. Now we give that out and we train it. It's every year. The plan is this is every year. Because if you don't know what I'm expecting of you, how can I say, how come you didn't do it? You're also going to continue showing up as Grand Officer because you're now engaged. You have a job to do. That's because one young man asked me. I didn't have a clue. I figured it out. It's not easy to transform your lodge. You're going to have that one guy that says, we didn't do it that way before. I don't know why. We tried this 35 years ago when I was a young Master Mason. That's fair. That's how he feels. There's nothing wrong with that. Listen to him. It's not an easy job to transform a Masonic Lodge, but it can be done. It can be done by energy, by passion, by looking at what's happening and figuring out what you want to do to make it better. Every one of you in this room is a leader in some form in this fraternity. Whether you're a Grand Officer, whether you're a past Grand, whether you're just serving in your local lodge, the chapter, council, commandery, any of our bodies, you have the opportunity to lead. You can make a difference. Grab the Masonic experience. Don't just pick at it. Just wrap your hand around it and say, I can make this better for my brothers. You can. But it's work. It's not easy, but I promise you it's work and you can do it. If you want a copy of my book, order on Amazon.com. I got a few copies here today, $15. You want them? Great. If you don't, trust me, I'm not offended. I bring them along because people say, did you bring any? Crap, no. So I always carry a few just in case. This is your guide to fulfilling Masonic Lodge experience. It goes through here. I give them to a lot of new, to senior wardens when they go in because they're going to have to be worshipful masters one day, we hope. The time to remove him from the line is when? Before he becomes a principal officer, right? Once he gets up there on the dais, you're stuck with him pretty much. Be willing to make a change. Looking in this room, I don't see a problem. But when you go back to your chapters, councils, commanders, your lodges, your preceptories, your consistories, you've got guys that aren't going to buy this. They're going to tell you it's not going to be successful. How dare you change this? It won't be successful. I look around the room and I think this is a successful event. These are the kind of things Master Masons want to attend. Nobody came here to sit, soak, and scram. Make a difference. Any questions, comments, criticisms? I can take all comers. Going once? Going twice? Even Johnny doesn't have a comment. He's just waiting. 3 times. Brethren, as always, it's a pleasure to be in Missouri. I always enjoy coming here, even with Kevin. And it's great to be here, but it's also good to be with so many friends and brothers that I've known for such a long time. To be with Chris and hang out with him. Thank you, guys.